Good evening, I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching World News Tonight, live from Warsaw. Europe wants to work on the American peace plan for Ukraine, saying no borders should be changed by force and the reduction of Kiev's army would expose it to future Russian attacks. Donald Trump says in response that his plan is not final. We'll have more on that in a moment, but first let's take a look at tonight's headlines. Poland unveils a full-scale model of its first military satellite. Bosnian Serbs go to polling stations to choose their next president. And winter has engulfed large swaths of Europe. As the American diplomatic efforts concerning peace in war-torn Ukraine are quickly gaining momentum, let's first go live to our correspondent in Kiev, Os Katerji. So, good evening, Oz. Ukrainian, US and European delegations are to meet tomorrow in Switzerland to discuss the details of the American peace plan. What can Kiev hope for in negotiations with the American delegation?
Well, look, hearing from Trump that these are not the final plans will be good news to the Ukrainian delegation heading forward. President Zelensky has confirmed the delegation that will negotiate on behalf of Ukraine at these talks. But it's very clear, while you said that momentum may be building on the US side, it's very clear that the Ukrainians themselves are rejecting these terms and that they are being supported in that rejection by their European allies. Now, President Zelensky released a statement on Saturday confirming the delegation that would be involved in these negotiations. Let's take a listen to that statement.
I have signed a decree on the composition of Ukraine's delegation and approved all relevant directives. Our representatives know how to protect Ukraine's national interests and what exactly is needed to prevent Russia from carrying out a third invasion, another strike against Ukraine, just as in the past it repeatedly committed crimes against our people and against other nations as well.
So protecting Ukraine's national interest really is the theme behind Ukraine's position on these negotiations, with Zelensky saying in that same speech this was about much more than the specific points of any particular document. And the way Kiev is strategizing this is by saying that their position is about preventing any future Russian invasion, something that they look at in the points made in this document, and they do not see that any guarantees that would protect them from a further invasion in this specific plan. So that's going to be the angle that they're trying to negotiate with on this specific point.
Now, Oz, I have one more question to you. You talked to Ukrainians about their feelings concerning the American peace plan. What have they told you?
Well, look, we went to central Kyiv earlier on in the day to try and talk to Ukrainians about how they felt about the news that they were seeing, not just the news from the peace plan proposals from the United States, but Zelensky's extraordinary statement on Friday, preparing the Ukrainian people almost for a major rift between their relationship between Kyiv and Washington. Let's take a quick listen to what the Ukrainian people we spoke to today had to say about it.
It's a 100% betrayal for Ukraine.
This is our land and we fight for it. If Ukrainians stop fighting, there will be no Ukraine. But if Russians stop fighting, there will be no war. So the pressure has to be on Russia.
Of course, I don't support signing that. Like, it would be a catastrophic decision for Ukraine, for our sovereignty, for our freedom, for everything our people are fighting for.
I think they are a total disaster. I think we shouldn't even consider them because they are full of things that Russia want.
Now, we here at TVP World have asked the Ukrainian people questions like this for a long time, specifically since Donald Trump came into office for his second term. We have been asking the Ukrainian people how they feel about his negotiation tactics and his positions on this. And oftentimes we find a mix of views about how people feel a lot of hope, especially at the start of Trump's term, that he may be able to break the impasse in favor of Ukraine. What was stark from listening to people speaking today is that there wasn't a single person who agreed with these plans, and not a single person who wanted Zelensky to sign them. So, look, we still haven't had any major opinion polling about how the Ukrainian people, on large, feel about this. But from speaking to people on the streets today, public opinion very much is turning against this deal and supporting Zelensky in rejecting it. What they're going to be hoping now in Kyiv is that the support from Europe can really turn the tide and make this agreement something that much more favors Ukraine's negotiating position going forward, Maciej.
That was Oskar Taji reporting from Kyiv. Thank you very much, Oz, and stay safe. Europe is working on a counter-proposal to the American peace plan for Ukraine. Despite including the EU and NATO in his plan, Donald Trump has not consulted it with Washington's European allies ahead of time. Kazimierz Wysiak has more.
On the sidelines of the G20 summit in South Africa, leaders from Europe, Japan and Canada brainstormed what to do next when it comes to the latest US proposal for peace in Ukraine. While it's clear they're not happy with some of the points, they're making sure not to offend US President Donald Trump with an outright rejection.
We believe that the draft is a basis which will require additional work. We are ready to engage in order to ensure that the future peace is sustainable. We are clear on the principle that borders must not be changed by force. We are also concerned by the proposed limitations on Ukraine's armed forces, which would leave Ukraine vulnerable to future attacks.
In a brief comment to the media on Saturday, Trump appears to have taken his foot off the pedal.
No, not by far.
And analysts say his approach might change after negotiations with Zelensky and European leaders.
If Zelensky is in a position to tell Trump that he embraces the plan, he just wants to work with Trump and negotiate, Trump might appreciate it. There may be a way for Zelensky to come up, and his government to come up with alternative language which satisfies Trump, which frustrates the Kremlin's ambitions.
I think this particular 28-point document has to be taken as a starting point for negotiation.
European leaders once again hadn't been consulted by Donald Trump before this peace proposal, which includes points on Poland and all of NATO.
Russia cannot impose its conditions on Ukraine or Europe. Everything that concerns Poland must be settled with the Polish government.
If Ukraine loses this war and possibly collapses, it will have an impact on European politics as a whole, on the entire European continent. I had a long phone call with President Trump yesterday evening, shortly before my departure. I also made this position clear to him.
The 28-point peace proposal includes points which would mean major concessions made by Ukraine, like recognizing 3 Ukrainian regions as de facto Russian or full amnesty for Russian war criminals. That's putting a lot of pressure on President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Either the difficult 28 points or an extremely difficult winter, the most difficult, and further risks.
Especially since Donald Trump has hinted at cutting US intel and weapons for Kyiv if his proposal gets rejected.
The suggestion that you made, though, was that if he doesn't accept it, that the U.S. would pull back its support for Ukraine.
Well, at some point he's going to have to accept something.
But there are some points of the plan which European leaders view positively.
I think it is important to say that one of the elements in the 28-point plan is the security guarantee from the US, an Article 5 guarantee. That's about the strongest guarantee that can be put forward.
The US president has given Ukraine until Thursday next week to accept the deal. Russian leader Vladimir Putin is forcefully saying Ukraine has already rejected the plan, although he himself hasn't accepted it either. The UK, France and Germany are reportedly working on a counter-proposal, but no details have been made public yet. For TVP World, I'm Kazimierz Wysiak.
Residents of the Ukrainian city of Ternopil paid respects to the victims of Russian terror. Dozens of people were killed in a Russian attack on a multi-story building, among them a 7-year-old Polish girl and her mother.
In Ternopil, Ukraine, dozens of mourners gathered for the funeral of Oksana Bilo and her 7-year-old daughter Amelia, killed in a Russian strike on November 19th. A spokesperson for the Polish Foreign Ministry confirmed that 7-year-old Amelka was a Polish citizen. The news has sparked a flurry of condemnation from Polish leaders.
Hearing the news of the death of 7-year-old Amelka, a Polish citizen who perished in Ternopil along with her mother as a result of the barbaric Russian shelling on civilians, has left me with a heavy heart. Amelka was 7 years old. 7, a Polish child. She died in Ternopil during a brutal Russian missile attack. She will no longer make any of her dreams come true. This cruel war must end, and Russia cannot win it, because this is also a war about the future of our children.
The strike took place in the early hours of Wednesday, when 2 residential buildings were hit, triggering fires and heavy destruction. Oksana and Amelka were found holding each other in the final moments.
She called me and said, "Dad, Mom, help us, we're on fire, help us, help us." My husband rushed over, but when he got there, everything was on fire. The fire brigade hadn't arrived yet, and everything was ablaze. They burned alive, embracing each other. What a terrible death.
That night, Russia launched more than 470 rockets and 50 missiles across Ukraine. By Saturday, the death toll has climbed to 32, including 2 children, with 94 people injured.
The first Polish military satellite still awaits its launch into Earth's orbit, but its full-scale model can now be viewed at an exhibition in Warsaw. Sonia Gatabiszczan reports on the ISI Space Reconnaissance project.
As Poland awaits the launch of its first military satellite, the wider public has a chance to see its full-scale model at an exhibition titled Vigilance from the Orbit at the Polish Army Museum in Warsaw.
We wanted to showcase not only the capability that we will provide to the Polish armed forces, but also educate people around the SAR imagery and what actually can be done with SAR imagery on civilian matters and military matters.
Synthetic aperture radar satellites, or SAR for short, can capture detailed satellite imagery regardless of weather conditions or the time of day or night, making them vital for security and defense purposes.
What is important, the quality of the image is 25 centimeters per pixel. This is a really top-of-the-notch, top quality in the world. This enables identification of objects even as small as tanks and other military vehicles.
The deployment of this satellite by Poland through the MicroSAR program is just one of the actions that the country is taking to ensure full situational awareness from space.
This is actually a first step for Polish armed forces to create a reconnaissance, strategic reconnaissance from space. The MicroSAR program consists of purchasing 3 satellites and then probably 3 optional satellites that are equipped with a synthetic aperture radar.
ISI, the Polish-Finnish company that produced what is about to be Poland's first military satellite, has also been working with Ukraine amid the ongoing Russian aggression. The company estimates that approximately 70% of images used by Ukraine may be coming from ISI satellites.
So we are cooperating with the military intelligence service of the Ukrainian armed forces, and we are providing data for them.
The first Polish military satellite is expected to be launched within days, with the current launch date set for November 26. Those that wish to see the full-scale model of the satellite to be employed by the Polish armed forces can visit the exhibition until the end of the weekend. From Warsaw, for TVP World, I'm Sonia Gatabiszczan.
On Sunday, Bosnian Serbs will elect their new president after Milorad Dodik was removed from the office in August due to a conflict with the United Nations High Commissioner. Our Balkan correspondent Paweł Trzaskowski went to Banja Luka on the eve of the vote, which may change the future of Republika Srpska.
I am now in Banja Luka, the de facto capital of Republika Srpska, one of the constituents of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Although this is the second largest city in the country, getting here from Sarajevo, the capital, is not an easy task. There are no highways that would connect the two cities. One needs to drive through mountain roads that in snowy conditions, which I experienced on my way here, turn into a single track that is best tackled by a 4x4 vehicle. And the reason behind this inaccessibility is the shape of modern-day Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is home to three ethnic groups: Bosniaks, Serbs and Croats. This ethnic diversity was the primary driver behind the bloody Bosnian War that included an almost 4-year siege of Sarajevo by Bosnian Serbs. The war eventually ended with NATO military intervention and the signing of the Dayton Agreement 30 years ago. Since then, peacekeeping troops have been deployed to the country, which has been divided into two parts: the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Republika Srpska, with Bosniaks mainly inhabiting the former and Serbs the latter. And the political system implemented in the country is complex, to say the least. On the international level, the country is overseen by the High Representative. On the state level, there is the presidency that comprises of 3 representatives: 1 Serb, 1 Bosniak and 1 Croat. And then there are presidents of the constituents, Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Republika Srpska. For many years, the president of the latter was Milorad Dodik. During his presidency, Dodik floated the idea of Republika Srpska seceding numerous times, until eventually he was put on trial in December 2023 for violating the terms of the Dayton Agreement. It all started when the High Representative blocked 2 laws passed by Republika Srpska, but Dodik refused to abandon their enactment. This non-compliance was reportedly motivated by his push for a more independent Serb republic.
What does he want? Separation? And he should know that he could end with his people in a kind of Transnistria, like the eastern part of Moldova. No recognition.
For his actions, Dodik was given a sentence of 1 year in prison and a 6-year ban on holding office by the Bosnian court. The verdict paved the way for snap presidential elections that will be held this Sunday. There are 6 contenders for the post, but 2 lead the polls. This is Sinisa Karan, appointed by Dodik himself, almost certainly guaranteed to continue his secessionist policies.
I ask you to understand that this is not just any election, it's certainly not an ordinary election. It is our new plebiscite, our new referendum. Once again, we are defending the Serbian Republic.
And this is Branko Blanusha, who, with a slogan of "Make Republika Srpska proud again," vows to fight corruption and injustice.
I want to behave differently. I want to be the president of every citizen of Republika Srpska, regardless of religion or nationality.
Blanusha's victory is unlikely to bring harmony to the region, but it could bring some extra stability. There is no runoff after tomorrow's vote, so whoever wins tomorrow takes it all. From Banja Luka in Republika Srpska in Bosnia and Herzegovina, I'm Paweł Trzaskowski.
Winter is here. Snow has covered large swaths of Slovakia and Poland. Although tourists welcome the change of weather, drivers are less enthusiastic. Zuzanna Jurek reports.
Winter wonderland or a logistical nightmare? Opinions are divided as this year's first snowfall arrived in much of Europe. In Central Europe, road traffic was severely affected, both in Poland and in neighboring Slovakia.
During the morning hours, traffic police had to intervene twice and create a corridor for road users.
And road navigation wasn't the only tricky terrain to navigate, as mountain goers from Austria to Poland were to find out.
We've got serious winter mountain conditions. Lots of snow, fierce winds, wind on Kasparowy. We wanted to go down on foot, but it was impossible and we had to return by cable car.
Beautiful, wonderful, a bit cold. Snow is a nuisance. There is tons of snow. We did not expect such heavy snowfall.
Rescuers and tourist guides alike urge people not to get sidetracked by the natural beauty of the snowfall.
As predicted, heavy snowfall has arrived. There is less snow cover on the peaks themselves, which is caused by strong winds reaching up to 50 kilometers an hour, prompting the Tatra Mountain Rescue Service to announce a level 2 avalanche warning. The conditions in the mountains are challenging. Visibility is limited due to snowfall, and wind is expected over the weekend, so it will only get worse.
And the snow traveled wide and far on Saturday, reaching Balkan nations, including Croatia and Bosnia. The hails also traveled all the way down to the Iberian Peninsula, turning Spanish Pyrenees into landscapes becoming of a winter wonderland. But before Europeans can start dreaming of a white Christmas, it's first crucial to get prepared and avoid unnecessary risks. For TVP World, Zuzanna Jurek.
After emotions following the announcement of the American peace plan for Ukraine, it's time for diplomacy to work out the final shape of the document. A true flurry of high-level meetings has already begun, with European leaders voicing their concerns over Donald Trump's proposal. And to talk about it, we're joined by Martin Sklana, former Slovakian defense minister. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
So Europe wants to consult the 28-point plan with both Kiev and Washington. Now, what are the European leaders hoping for here?
Certainly, they're hoping to being able to put themselves into the negotiation and adjust the plan. The plan is obviously drafted in a way to reward Russia, to degrade Ukraine, and constitutes a threat if it's implemented for Europe, especially. So the Europeans have a tough job ahead of them to negotiate with the US, with Ukraine, to come to a new form, new idea about the plan, how to put it on paper and how to negotiate then with Russia.
It was a lengthy proposal consisting of 28 points. Now, which points of the proposal are the most likely to be changed?
It would seem that obviously everything is possible, as we have seen also previously with plans put forward from Donald Trump or from the US side. There are several things that need to be redrafted or reconsidered in the plan. Certainly, from a European point of view, from a Ukrainian point of view, the most obvious ones are the territories and their management after the plan. The security guarantees or the security limitations that Ukraine will need to fulfill once this plan potentially goes into implementation. Then there's the issue of possible prosecution of crimes that happened in the full-scale invasion and in the war in Ukraine. There's a lot that needs to be discussed. Certainly, each and every of the stipulations of the plan really deserves a second look from what we have seen so far.
Now, Donald Trump himself says that the plan is not final. Why then has he given Ukraine time until Thursday to accept it?
We've seen this before. Donald Trump's idea of negotiation is first and foremost to scare the other side in negotiations. It seems like it's his tactic here again. The good news is that tomorrow the negotiations with Ukraine will begin in Geneva. It's not ideal, but it's certainly the point where we want to see some progress being made in the plan and in the conditions that it entails. And based on the negotiations in Geneva with the Europeans, then we will see what is actually possible with this newest initiative of the US president.
Right, now talking about negotiation tactics, could the plan emerging into public be, a part of a Russian strategy to put some pressure on the US and Europe now?
Certainly, that could be one of the scenarios, but it looks like this is a way for Russia to make sure that their conditions are being discussed as the basis for any possible negotiations, which is obviously a situation that Ukraine doesn't really have the possibility of accepting or starting the negotiations here. So this is it looks like the the negotiating positions would be very unbalanced and unfair at the moment. Let's see what the negotiations in Geneva over the next few days will bring, and what will be actually the situation at the end of the next week. We will see. Hopefully, it will change to a better situation where Ukraine can actually start considering some of the parts of the plan, and whether or not it is prepared to make some concessions.
Right. Now, as we've heard from our reporter in Kiev, the public opinion is strongly against this plan. The public opinion in Ukraine, of course. Now, could Ukraine afford to just reject the plan at all?
Well, certainly Ukraine cannot accept the plan as it is. It needs to negotiate. Ukraine has continuously offered the possibility of negotiating a solution to the current situation. In that sense, Ukraine certainly will be looking for ways how to start negotiations. Certainly the plan as it is right now on the table is not the possibility. And I think Donald Trump realized that once he admitted that this is not the final version of the plan, and it needs to be discussed. It needs to be discussed. Ukraine will be there. It will make everything possible to stop this. It seems that the only side who cannot really stop the war in Ukraine is Russia, and that makes the negotiation more complicated, because everybody wants to negotiate. Russia pretends to want to negotiate, but in the end doesn't really accept any progress.
Right, because so far Russia claims that the plan has not been consulted with the Kremlin. Could this mean that they are about to reject it, as you say?
Well, it would be very unlikely if it wasn't consulted. I mean, from what we see in the media, it looks like the U.S. and Russia both worked on at least on some parts of the plan. I'm not saying that, but it's probably true that the final version was proposed by the U.S. side. But still, I mean, if Russia didn't work on this plan, then it's even more concerning that the U.S. would propose a plan that would be so strongly in favor of Russia. So I would expect that at least the Russian envoy for negotiations has seen parts of the plan and was able to introduce at least some language into the proposal.
Right. Now, Donald Trump has, let's say, threatened Ukraine with withdrawing his support for the war-torn country. Now, can Europe, which currently provides Ukraine with what it needs to survive, continue to support Ukraine effectively without the American participation?
Europe has proven that it can support significantly Ukraine, even with a U.S. which is less predictable in its steps and plans when it comes to supporting Ukraine in its defense against Russia. Yes, I mean, this would mean that Europe has to step up again and come with even more support and find even more ways to support Russia. But also, the pressure might help a little bit Europeans to dig deeper, since a plan, if it goes like this, would be, as I said, a threat to Europe, and would have concrete impact on the security and defense of Europe, of the European Union. So, this is not only about Ukraine support, but the Europeans certainly have to make sure what is the best and most effective way of dealing with the Russia threat, both with Ukraine and in the European or the EU territory as well.
Well, the situation seems extremely dynamic at the moment. Now, what awaits us in the next few days? And do you think that next Thursday we will actually learn the final shape of a peace agreement?
We've been in this situation before. We have seen signals that the negotiations would start. We had proposals on the table, maybe not as complex as this one, but certainly I would expect over the next days to have negotiations, very dynamic and intense ones in Geneva with the relevant stakeholders. We have seen, many of the principal representatives adjusting their plans so they are able to dedicate their time to this, which is good. I mean, it creates the opportunity I would expect to see over the course of next days, guarantee the news of whatever is the advancement in the negotiations over the proposal. But I'm sure that the bulk of the negotiations will be held in a very confidential setting, and hopefully will be able to bring some positive results. Identify at least those points in the plan, and there are. I would hope that there are some that can be used as a constructive basis to find future arrangements.
Martin Sklenar, former Slovakian defense minister, was our guest this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more news and interviews here on TVP World.